Welcome to the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group and a certified Sufesta trainer. My goal is to shine a light on what I believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. I love the work I do, and I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast. In this episode, we have Cory Yates on from Alpha and Omega Restaurant Equipment Repair. Commercial Kitchen Chronicles podcast is proudly sponsored by Viega and the Viega Trades Education Network. Viega is a leader in press technology and a large supporter of trade education through their V10 program. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, Rich and I are joined by Cory Yates. Cory Yates is an entrepreneur. He is located in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and he owns Alpha and Omega Equipment Repair. So we're going to talk to Cory about what it is to start a business, to maintain a business, and grow a business in this industry. We all love this industry, and we love what it can provide for our families. And some guys want to do it on their own. Some guys want to work with somebody, and we're going to cover all of that tonight. So thanks for coming on, Cory. How are you tonight?
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for having me very much. Appreciate it.
Cool. I've heard a lot of great things about you. We've been following each other on LinkedIn for a while, and I think I follow Edgar on all the other social media. I think he does a lot of the not the LinkedIn, but the probably the Instagram stuff. I see some videos and stuff he puts out there. So you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff out there, and I'm always glad to connect with other kitchen guys. And I'm not a business owner. I work for a large conglomerate. I'm not going to lie. I've thought about doing my own thing, but I like what I'm doing. I like the things I get to do, and it fits me right now. And I'm not knocking anybody who wants to do their own thing. To each his own. There's a place in this world for everybody, and as long as people understand that, that's what we're trying to get across.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are, and you're Pat, you're right. There's so many opportunities that exist in the industry, and one of the things that Edgar and I learned, it took us about 4 years of the 8 years we've been in business for us to learn, is to stay in the lane that you're comfortable in and that you're competent in. And it doesn't mean that you cannot begin to stretch what that lane looks like. But those who try to go into a lane that they don't belong in typically hit something. And Edgar and I, even the first 4 years, we were successful. We were doing really, really well. From the outside in is what it looked like. From the inside out, we wanted to kill each other damn near every day. And it's because I was telling him how to run the street and he was telling me how to run the business. And once we learned to stay in our own lanes, there's about that much overlap now. Whereas before we were every day we were in each other's hair. And once we learned to stay in our own lane, he runs the street and we confer on anything that's gray. I run the business and I run any big expenditures through him, make sure, because I'm spending 50% of his money. So I want to make sure that he agrees with and understands what we're doing and why. And so I guess the kind of the headline message is know what you're good at, know what you're not good at. And I'm sure you've all heard ready, fire, aim. There's a lot of ready, fire, aimers out there that will have to drag their ass back to their last employer and say, "Oh, that didn't work. Can I have my job back?" And we don't want that for anybody. It looks bad for them. It tears you up financially, and so we want to try and avoid that. Give you a little guidance so we can avoid that.
So we followed you on LinkedIn, and you guys do a lot of cool stuff. But you've been in the business. You've been an entrepreneur for years. You said you're a serial entrepreneur, so you've done a lot of things before a service company. So you want to explain what you did prior to starting a service company? You want to work through how you got to where you're at now, or?
Absolutely. So Colorado, 1992, was working for a janitorial supply firm, and one of our vendors was a chemical provider. Had everything from floor cleaners to pot and pan soap, degreaser, things like that. And I knew that I could sell a case of toilet paper and make $7 commission, or I could sell a case of soap and make $27 in commission. And I'm like, I'm not really that smart, but I think I know what I'm going to try and do. And so over the span of about a year, developed a pretty good following. and finally ended up going to that manufacturer who was up in Denver. I was in Colorado Springs, and said, "Hey, I'd like to work for you, strictly sell chemical." And so did that, built that business up until '97, and pretty heavily involved in the restaurant industry. So lease and install dish machines, um, and sell all the chemical that wrapped around that. And then began to add, what I told people is, if you can throw it away or wash it down the drain, we sell it. And so it was basically a disposable company that revolved around the hospitality industry, and was very, what I would call, successful in that business. Sold it in '97, moved to the Phoenix area, built the exact same type of business here. Sold it in 2004 to a gentleman who, when I sold it, we were doing about 2.5 million a year. He sold the business within the last 6 months, and last year he was probably somewhere in the 25 to 27 million range. So he did very, very well. I'm incredibly proud of him. That's legacy. I see the trucks around town still. And he ended up being in 8 or 10 states, and just a fantastic dude, and life-changing money for him. He'll never work another day in his life, and I couldn't be more proud of him. So that's the kind of legacy deal. It's cool. Um, Started out of that, it incubated a repair business. A couple guys that worked for what was uh, not, I'm thinking GPS. What was the repair company, the early iteration of Ecolab's repair company? It was, I think,
GCS.
that's right, GCS. So they were not happy with GCS, and I'd seen them in restaurants, and these two guys said, "We'd like to leave. Will you finance us?" And I said, "I won't finance you. I'll hire you, and we'll build a business." And they're like, "Okay, that'll work." So we did that for 18 months, and I'm like, this isn't good enough. This isn't big enough. So we started another company where it was more fully, where we could grow, where we could scale the business. And so built that business until 2012, sold it. I went and did real estate for 3 years. And then in 2015, Edgar and I started this. And the relationships that we had built in the market, very luckily, allowed us to launch. I mean, in 2015, we launched. It was basically fish in a barrel, because Edgar had relationships, I had relationships, and we just went in and renewed those. And like I said, we were successful. We were able to get a bunch of accounts. Edgar and I hated one another for about the first 4 years, as I mentioned. But over the last 4 years, we come out of COVID, and we very luckily, we've got a fantastic customer base and a great tech team, great office staff. Everybody gets it. They understand what the mission is. And they dig what I'm going to call our pixie dust, the secret sauce that Edgar and I have developed inside our four walls. They dig it. Clients dig it, and they treat us really well. And we couldn't be more humbled. And we know how lucky we are to have the size and speed of business that we do have.
Sweet. So how big are you guys? How many techs?
12 techs, 1, 2, 3, 4 office staff, and a warehouseman that builds our install trailers for us, pick up product, deliver product to techs. Is a runner. And again, God puts incredible people in front of you when you need them, and that's exactly what happened for a lot of these people. And the kind of circuitous route that several of these employees took to get to us is incredible. The stories are incredible, and like I said, God works in mysterious ways, and He put the right people in front of us, and hopefully we're the right people for them. where they are in their lives. And I think it's proven out, especially over this last year, that that's been the case. So, yeah.
That's cool. I was talking to Rich earlier, and he said something about how they build out their trailers for like installs and stuff. I was impressed by that. You want to talk about that, Rich? What you were saying to me earlier about that?
Well, I know talking with Cory in the past, he was basically saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think mostly you or sometimes Edgar, like I say, you have a walk-in box install or any kind of job like that. Y'all hit the field, y'all go to the place, meet with the customer, take the measurements, basically do a full assessment of what's going to need to be done, what the technicians will need, tools, materials, and then by the day that install comes, you've got the trailer loaded, ready to go. All your techs have to do is hook up the hitch to the trailer, get to the job site, and basically just about everything they're going to need. There's no, oh crap, or at least very minimum, oh crap, I got to run to Home Depot. I got to run to the supply house. Your techs aren't out there running the site surveys on their own when they could be out there making you money and things like that. Is that
Correct? That's exactly right. And that warehouseman that I mentioned. So we have a process for everything. I'm a process driven guy. Some people call me a freak, whatever. I don't turn the light and switch on and off 3 times when I leave the room, but I'm not far from it. So everything has to have a process. If it has a process, it's easier to follow. If it's simple, it's really easy to follow. And so it's basically depending on the size of the install, there'll be at least one, and in some occasions 2 and 3 site surveys. With either Edgar, we have another A-level tech that is adjacent to Edgar. His name is Adam Martinez, fantastic tech. He follows you guys, by the way. And so one of those 2 guys typically runs any install that we have. They'll be the lead tech, and then it's just adding technicians to them. So we'll couple together and do the site survey, determine the who, what, when, where, why of those individual installs. Go back, do our homework. If there's something we missed or more information we need, like I said, we may fold back in for a second one to make sure that we've got everything we need. That all goes on a specific document that's handed to the warehouseman. Product gets ordered, crane, if we need it, gets scheduled. The trailer gets built. So the day of install, technician pulls up to the warehouse. The equipment is on. The lifts, the cup casters, whatever we need is on that trailer. It's built. It's ready to go. All they got to do is pull to the job site and start rocking and rolling. Meet the crane, whatever they have to do. When they get it back, whatever refuse or whatever is there from the day of the install, that gets all, again, the warehouseman picks that ball up and clears it for the following day.
Let me ask you this: how would you say, because I mean that's a great system.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say that system that y'all have is improving your installs or keeping your installs top notch? Because like where I work, it's usually a technician that's doing the site survey. And most manufacturers, they don't pay anything for a site survey. It's like, we'll give you $100. I'm like, I got to drive an hour and a half to the location. I got to spend 2 hours there. It's costing my company money to do site surveys. Then generally, I got to make a list of, I'm going to need A, B, C, and D. Then I got to source it myself. Like I'm putting a lot of labor. Sometimes I depending on what it is, I can get my supervisor, my direct supervisor to, if I shoot him a list, he's like, hey, I can get this, that, and the other for you. But it's a drag not only on the money we're going to get for the job, but it's a drag on overall production. It's a drag on us as technicians, because a lot of times we show up even after a call and a text message telling us the site's ready, and it's nowhere near ready. So aside the financial aspect of it, but do you think that process I guess maybe keeps the morale of the technicians up, knowing that they can just go to the site and they've got more or less what they need? Or just kind of talk about that aspect of that process?
It's absolutely critical. We didn't always do it this way. We would have the techs build the trailers, and that's not billable time. And for what we bill per hour, which is over $100 an hour, the last thing that I want to do is have a technician building trailers. It's much better money spent to have somebody who is skilled at a position to do that position. A lot of people believe in cross training. We cross train about that much. We're very specific in what we need people to do. So the division of labor for us works very, very well. Again, I've got 12 techs. Would that work for somebody who's got 30 techs? I don't know. I don't have 30 techs, so I can't answer that question. But I can tell you for 12, it works fantastic. And the only thing that I ask my techs to do is order parts. They've done the diagnostic work. They know exactly what they had their hands in. They know models and serials. All of those things are in place. And so the only thing I ask them to do is order parts. When those parts come in, the diagnosing technician is going to be the repair guy. And we work our installs very much the same way. Let's say it's a 5-ton AC unit. I need to know the curb size. I need to know voltage, amperage, phase, tonnage, obviously. What size crane do I need? Those are all the things that we gather. Those and about 50 other things are the things that I gather on a site survey. If I think, you know what, this is beyond me, there's going to be things that happen in this install that Edgar or Adam is going to understand far better than I do. And so I will pull them, usually it's Edgar. I'll pull him, but often enough it's Adam. And today, as a matter of fact, at the airport, we've got a tilt skillet that's going in end of next week. And I've got doorways that are that much larger than the tilt skillet. And so I pulled Adam in. I said, dude, I need you to see this because Adam's going to run the project. Let's make sure the day of install, if there's surprises, they're this small, not something where it says, sorry, client, I can't make this install because I didn't take this into consideration. They're really smart. They do those installs. I don't do those installs. And so I know what I know. I can walk around with my tape measure and the experience that I have that we've gained. But I respect what they do because at the end of the day, they're the one who's going to be loading it on the trailer, unloading it off the trailer, taking it up an elevator, down a hallway, through 3 doorways to get it to the kitchen where it needs to go. So we'll pull them in that situation. By and large, a lot of these I can do myself and not get in trouble. But when I need them, I pull them in, and it's valuable. It's a time saver. It's a reputation saver. Your clients dig when you walk in and it's broken and you walk out and it's fixed. You guys know that just from break fix, right? Installs are the same way.
That's cool. So yeah, we're a smaller branch from where I work at, and it'd be nice to say if I go out and I'm quoting a walk-in, I just go out, I need all these fittings, I need all those parts, I need this condensing unit, this evaporator, and to have someone in the office that can order it and it's loaded on the trailer. I'm going to install tomorrow. I pick it up at 7. I'm on site by 8. I'm rocking and rolling. That'd be a huge help. I could see that saving a ton of time and money too, like you said, because when we do it, they're paying me my wage to go to the supply house to pick up parts, pay me my wage to go to the trailer, uncrate stuff. Like yesterday, I went to the shop, I uncrated a range, I jacked it up, put the wheels on it, I put it on the trailer, loaded it down, strapped it up, I drove to site. I installed it. I brought the old one back, unloaded it off the trailer, put it over in a scrap pile, and all that stuff. It's like, I did all that work, and I look at the ticket, and I know my hourly rate, and I see what it said it generates. It should be, but I also know that this is a flat rate job, and we're not making near that amount of money.
Right.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right.
So what you guys are doing is really cool.
Well, let me ask you something, Pat. How many techs at your branch?
7 right now.
Okay. So, and this is my opinion. Doesn't have to be your branch manager's opinion, but my opinion is if you were billable, okay, let's say it's $100 an hour, whatever it is. It's not important what the amount is. Just the fact if you were billable, that those 2 hours that you spent building that trailer, you could have been out doing something else. And no disrespect to a warehouseman, but he doesn't make what you make, right? He may make half of what you make. Now you've got 7 technicians that can count on him, and rather than building trailers or grabbing this and grabbing that, grabbing this, where they're non-billable, especially on a flat rate where they're non-billable, that warehouseman pays for himself twice in a month. No question about it, for him to be the quote unquote gopher. And again, no disrespect. The guy that we have working for us is a rock star. Not only can he do that, but if we need a fourth or fifth guy on an install, he's it.
Yeah.
He's got no certifications or anything, but all he wants to do is help.
Yep, he's
And-
hired labor. He's already on the staff. You're not paying a staffing agency to bring somebody in for a day. And
Yeah.
he already knows everybody. He has a rapport with the guys. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you could bill another 4 or 5 hours per tech per day, if they didn't have to run all their stuff, okay, multiply that times $100 an hour or whatever he charges in your area, there's $500 right there. Is that guy going to cost $500 a day? No way.
No.
Exactly.
What if it's a break even? So what? What if they pay that guy $4,000 a month, $1,000 a week? Are you telling me you can't recap $4,000 a month in what it takes you as a skilled technician to be loading a trailer, to be loading a lift?
Oh yeah,
100%.
It was a 5-hour job that really only should have took me 2 hours. By the time I drove there, installed it, it's like I had 5 hours in it. I'm like, I feel bad because I know what I make. I mean, I'm not a normal tech. I mean, we all know who I am, what I do. I've sat through Cephesta stuff where I know about billing and what it takes, to be productive on a person that makes my wage, what we really need to bill. And I know we're not billing that. And it's a lot of times it's like, so I feel guilty if I go over, and doing something like that. I know it has to be done. It's just the cost of doing business sometimes, but it's like, again, it would be better off to find someone else to come in and do this and create it up and, install it.
No question.
Exactly.
Somebody who, again, doesn't have the certifications, isn't costing GP, whatever your wage is per hour. And again, it's not just what they're paying you. So they're paying you to do that, right? And not billing your time. So it's for them, in my opinion, double loss. Okay. They could be paying somebody, a warehouseman, half of what you make, and now you're still billable. So that first 2 hours of the day, whatever it is, you're billable. Let's use $100 an hour. So what's up, Taz? Whatever you're billing easily pays for that guy, and it makes the skill that you have earned, right? The experience that you have, now you're using it 100% of the time, not 60% of the time.
To your question, Taz, if we were bigger, we'd have a dedicated office person. Now, in the past, it's always been a dedicated office. It's always generally been a female, and nothing against them. They can do the work too. It's just that's what it's always been, and they really haven't had experiences, assembling stuff and putting stuff together or loading the trailer, strapping stuff down. So, I mean, I'm more than welcome to teach anybody that wants to learn how to, load a trailer, to assemble equipment. Because, I mean, we get it. The equipment comes in, it doesn't have casters on it. I mean, it's not too hard. You get a forklift, you jack it up, you slide it up on the side of the pallet, or you strap it somehow. You put casters on, you set it on the ground. It's not rocket science. I mean, but yeah,
it's a time eater though. It's still a time eater.
Yeah, if we had a higher tech count, we'd have a warehouse person again, but we just don't have it, so it's not in the budget. You know how running a company is, and just imagine running a multi-billion-dollar company.
Well, I disagree. I think that guy pays for himself. I don't think it's a budget hit at all.
Yeah,
I think you could probably increase your numbers. And again, I haven't done the numbers at all, but my assumption is you could probably increase the top line sales by 15-20% to hire that guy to make you guys more billable more often.
Yeah,
he'd pay for himself, and your top line number would still go up.
Yeah, I agree with that because, like you said, he's not gonna make what we're making. You know what I mean? He's probably gonna make half, maybe a couple dollars more than half. Right. And like you said, especially when you have more top tier techs on the road, billable, we're easily gonna pay for that guy. You know what I mean? Agreed. Like the work he's doing isn't even necessarily gonna pay for him. It's the fact that he freed us up to do more work that would end up covering his pay
within your skill set.
Yeah,
not just more work, more billable work within your skill set.
Right, exactly.
Which makes you a happier dude. All you want to do is fix what's broken. You don't want to load trailers. Have you worked for 20 years in your industry to load trailers?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do it because I got to do it. It's just part of the job.
Sure.
I'm a team player.
I'll do it because me and my former trainee, Leo, that's in the chat there, we apparently load trailers faster than 2/3 of our coworkers. So we loaded one trailer one time, and my supervisor was like, it would have taken the PM crew the whole day to load that up. And we were like, we left the job, got to the shop, loaded it, went fueled up, and came back in like 2 hours. And he's like, I would have took the other guys the whole day. So now we load trailers now.
Yeah.
Taz, I feel sorry for you, dude. I talked to one of your techs. Well, I don't talk to him. Another one of my techs talks to one of your techs all the time, and you got your hands full, buddy.
4,000 techs, 139 trades. So I know what you do the first 2 hours of the day. What do you do the other 6 hours of the day, Taz?
Probably hides in the corner crying.
Trembling. Waiting for Freak Out Friday.
Friday, yes. I love Freak Out Friday. That's what
Right.
This episode is brought to you by Viega. As an industry-leading manufacturer, Viega not only provides training support for their press fittings and systems, but are also dedicated to continuing support for the trades education. So that's crazy. So when it started, was it just you and Edgar? Or did you guys always have, a couple other techs, or just you two started out and build it from there? Or what happened?
So Edgar was my lead tech in that business that I had from 2006 that I sold in 2012. He was my lead tech. Pulled him out of a Clarion hotel, as a matter of fact. He became my lead tech and just became a fantastic technician. And he stayed with the business that I sold. I make LinkedIn posts. He stayed with the business when I sold it and became disenchanted with that owner. Unfortunately, the guy that I sold it to was not a good owner. And so Edgar came to me and he said, hey, let's start this. That was in late 2014. And so in 2015, we started this. And I knew at that point, because of the quality of tech that Edgar was, that somebody was going to come take him from me. There was no question. It didn't matter what I paid him, somebody's going to come take him from me. So I'm like, I'm going to forego some of the ownership. He didn't buy in, he earned in, and he did. He spilled blood and tears to gain his ownership stake in the company. And that was the smartest thing that I've ever done. I've never had a business partner. Every business I've ever built I was a lone ranger, with staff. I'd never had a business partner. That's kind of why we probably clashed the first 4 years we were in business. I never had a business partner, and I'm like, I run this shit. This is how we're going to do it. And he's as bullheaded as I am. He goes, no, we're not going to do that. And so once we learned how to row in the same direction at the same time, that's how that came together. And he runs a fantastic crew. And so I can talk with just about anybody about just about anything. And I'm better with text now than I've ever been. But somebody like Edgar was magnetic for these guys. He talked their talk. I'm just a big dumb white guy who runs the business. But I don't know how to replace a TXV. I don't know how to calibrate a thermostat. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And so I'm kind of on the outside looking in, and he's got this A, magnetic personality, and B, this incredible talent, and he could tech talk. And so he just began to draw these high quality people to the company, and it's evolved to where it is now.
Now I'm mad he's not here, so I'm gonna hold that against him.
I'm gonna try to get him in on another time when it works for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all this stuff about him if he were listening. So
awesome. So the hotel thing that kills me, because we've hired some hotel guys, and it's just like they didn't seem to work out. So what separated Edgar from everybody else? Did he just have that desire to want to be more, to learn more? That was just in him, and he didn't want to settle being at the hotel. He didn't want to settle just for somebody. He just has that desire.
He did. He started as working in housekeeping.
Wow.
And he just then something would be broken, and he'd like fix it and take it to facilities, and he'd go, hey, this is broken, now it's fixed. And so the facilities manager at this Clarion said, do you want a job? And he goes, well, I'm in housekeeping. He goes, do you want a job? And he goes, yeah, sure. And so that was his launch into break fix, and started, of course, with light bulbs, switches, and then it kind of evolved into the kitchen equipment. Like I said, when I hired him, he was good but not great, and he taught himself, self-taught. Probably shocked the shit out of himself 1,000 times doing what he wasn't supposed to, but learned how. And he just has a drive like nobody I've ever seen. And so he made himself who he is. There's very little outside training at all. It's all, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to figure it out. And he did.
I love that, because that's the way I am. I started off as an electrician. My dad retired, got me in a position where he was working at GCS, and they gave me about 2 weeks, kicked me out, fix McDonald's and schools. I cut my teeth in for 3 years, and I wanted to do refrigeration. I cut me, so they teaching refrigeration. I got there, and their idea of teaching refrigeration was shit's on the truck, figure it out. And I never backed down from a challenge. It sounds like Edgar's the same way. It's like, oh, it's broke. Well, it's broke when I got there. It can't be any worse when I leave. I mean, it's already broke. So I think Rich is the same way. Rich likes the challenge. Rich likes to.
Oh yeah.
3 other guys have been there. They can't fix it, and that's why I put that meme out this week. Oh, you called somebody else and they couldn't fix it. I'm here now. I mean,
I got you. Exactly.
I got you.
Yeah,
and I just want to point out too, and I don't ever get political, so I don't know if this statement is political or not, but for anybody who says that the American dream is dead or is not achievable, in this day and age, after we're done recording, rewind that section and listen to it till you get that through your head. I mean, from housekeeping to owning a very successful service company, I mean, that's literally the American dream right there. So that is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, you have to have the drive, and the good thing is, like I said, what I know for sure, and if Edgar were listening to this, I can say this very honestly, and Edgar would shake his head yes. I can't fix a TXV, okay? I can't calibrate a thermostat, but I can run a business.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar cannot read a P&L or a balance sheet and doesn't want to know how, right? That's why we do this. We marry up very well. I run the business, he runs the street. And so there's a perfect division of labor for what we do. And once we realized that, again, that's when we started to really hit our stride, get the momentum we needed, and really draw a lot more quality people to us. So it worked out very well that way.
It sounds like me and Edgar should be best friends. I'm the same way, man. I don't have a desire to start a business, to own a business. I love doing what I do, and I love interacting with the customers, the other technicians, people. I don't trust myself enough to run a business. I think I feel guilty. I go into a mom and pop place and they're struggling. The owners are in there working. The owners aren't in there working because they're making money. The owners are in there working because they're losing their ass, and they're in there working for free. And people don't get it. People are like, oh, you own a restaurant, you're rich. No, unless you own something that's wildly successful, or you own a bunch of restaurants, you're not making any money. And I'd feel guilty. And I couldn't do it to people. And I know that's a bad way to run a business, so I don't want to do it.
Right. Got that. And I understand that critically. It is, and that's what makes you who you are, by the way, and why the mastermind. That's why your clients dig you, first of all. Probably ask for you by name. Pat and only Pat, nobody else but Pat. And I know, Rich, you and I have talked about this. You got the same thing going on, right? Mm-hmm. It's that same drive, that same kind of feeling where you have it's not, let's load this invoice up. It's like, let's thin this out as much as we can. What we realize very clearly, and you just said it, I'll say it differently, is that we are red ink. Mm-hmm. Okay? No restaurateur can package what we sell, mm-hmm. grind it up, and put it in a skillet and sell it. Okay, we are red ink. And the sooner you realize that and you portray that to your clients, and they realize that you're not trying to load invoices, you're trying to do everything, just the opposite, mm-hmm. right? That client will be with you until end of days, and they will tell 25 others, this guy does everything he can. He may not be the least expensive, and we're not, and I don't want to be. Okay, mm-hmm. But do I care about their longevity? Yeah, because when they're in business, I'm in business. Mm-hmm. And so understanding that You splash as little red ink as you possibly can over your client, and they understand it and they realize it. And you're accountable to them and negotiable when you fall down and skin your knees. You'll never lose them. They'll love you.
Me, Rich, and Jason had this conversation before. I used to do a lot of McDonald's when I first started, and it was for a company that tracked you based on sales, and they'd give you bonuses based on sales at the end of the year, and they'd grade you based on sales month to month, and how much experience is how much they expect you to do. And I never focused on selling parts. I'd go to McDonald's, the old famous electric fryers, fry masters, they'd break the wires on the high limit, and they'd be like, sell them a high limit. It doesn't need a high limit. It needs a new terminal put on the wire. The wire breaks. Well, you can sell them a high limit. No, it doesn't need it. But guess what? My numbers were always top, and I'm not selling parts they don't need. I'm fixing the demand and getting on to the next call. I'm making up for it in volume versus 3 calls a day, selling $500 parts each one when I could do 5 calls a day and it's $300. There's ways to make your money and be honest, man. These guys that go out there and just throw stuff drive me up the wall.
Well, and I think I said when we had that conversation too, we're not tracked on sales, but I happened to see the report of our sales for like the past year. I think it was July of last year to July of this year. And I'm in the top 3. Number 1 is a guy that me and him do most of the big jobs together, but he does some of the big jobs without me. Number 2 is a guy that is a parts changer. He will, instead of diagnosing, he will, oh, it's got to be this. Oops, it wasn't that. Well, I already installed it. Oh, it wasn't that. And before you know it, I think he had $3,000 worth of parts on a grill. And I believe the guy that was with him told me it was just supposed to be like a micro switcher, or, I might be off, but it was basically, he put $3,000 in parts for a simple repair. But mine's the same thing. I'm not going to sell you parts you don't need. But with that comes, when I say this is what you need, then the customer's like, well, then that must be what I need, because the last year and a half you've been coming here, you've never tried to sell me anything more than I need. So then when I'm like, look, now you need a $15,000 system change out. I guess we need a $15,000 system change out. That's just the way it is.
You've built
that's been my experience the whole 17 years I've been doing this.
Absolutely. We call those guys the guys that you were talking about, daisy, because it as you know, in virtually any machine, there's 4 to 5 parts that are daisy chained together that could be the problem, right? A diagnostician will find out which 1 or 2 or whatever of those 5 parts it is. A daisy chainer will go, well, it could be that, and that. They'll replace those, and the client thinks, oh, that was kind of expensive, but the machine's working. I trust that guy. So it delivers the right message in the wrong way to the client, as opposed to what you both do. I'm a diagnostician. I'm going to find out what's broken. I may not find it on the first call. I always want to make first stop fixes, always, right? But I'm not going to change 5 parts when you need 2. I'm just not, right? I got to look at myself in the mirror in the morning, and I got 15 families that count on me to make good decisions, right?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, and not to make this about me or anything, but I've gone to customers and they've been like, oh, how'd you fix it? And I'm like, I really don't know. Like, I started doing this and that, and it started working. I'll be back in 2 days to follow up. Go ahead and text me. And then sometimes 2 days later, it's because you had an intermittent issue. It started working, but when you come back 2 days later, that part has finally failed, and you're like, oh, I see what happened. This part was going in and out. But I mean, I don't think I look bad to a customer saying, I don't know what I did, or I don't know what the issue is right now, but I will come back until I figure out what the problem is, and we will make it right, at some point.
Right.
I have the weirdest outlook on it. People are like, why are you so good at diagnosing? I'm like, because I'm lazy. I don't want to change a part I don't have to. It's easier for me to figure out what's wrong than it is for me to change parts. I mean, I got a guy change compressors. He's changed more compressors in 2 months than I've changed in 4 years. I'm like, I don't want to change that compressor. That's the last thing I want to do. I mean,
I'd much rather clean the coil than lug that compressor to the top of the roof.
Start components or something along those lines. Like, man, the compressor's the last thing I want to do. I'm like, I'm really good at being lazy. People are like,
I like that.
I'm like, no, I'm good at diagnosing because I don't want to change parts.
Right.
Dude, I went on a call where somebody diagnosed an expansion valve on an open air case, and it was in a college. And this was just yesterday or the day before. I did not want to change that expansion valve. I'm like, I don't want to lug my crap across this campus and this and that. I looked it all over. Oh, the pressure control wasn't set right and the thing was freezing up. Adjusted the pressure control, good to go. I was like, that's a win for me.
Every day, bud.
Excellent.
So,
Love that.
I mean, it comes back to taking care of your customers, man. Not everything needs a part. Sometimes it's adjustment. Sometimes it's a coil cleaning. Sometimes, you know, they have those little cellophane bags that get stuck to this coil and it's blocking it. I mean, but there's guys out there that won't clean the coil. They don't check the coil. Oh, the compressor's clicking out on, it's overloading, it's clicking out. Well, maybe because it's hot and it's working too hard.
Right.
I mean, compressors don't just click and go out. I mean, there's other causes generally.
Always. I mean, compressors are obviously one of the hardest pieces of equipment on anything that we work on. They have to be, right? Because the absolute beating they take. Typically, it's a what you say, a lack of maintenance or another component that's affecting it. Absolutely.
Sweet. So I really want to talk to Edgar now. I'm going to hit him up on Instagram, bother him. Does he run your guys' Instagram account? Is that him or is
actually my wife owns her own design company. Everything you see on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all of that is all part of my wife. She does all of that.
Nice.
I won't bother her then. So I thought it was maybe.
we'll just hit him up on email, and I got his number now, so I'm gonna text him and be like, bro, when can you come on?
Yeah. Dude, and that will, and in all honesty, that will be a fascinating conversation to hear his story and where he is now. He is from 8 years ago to where he is today. He's an entirely different, not just technician. He's a different technician, no question, but he's an entirely different human. He has remade himself into a leader where he was not before. He was a solo. Somebody'd stand next to him and go, and he'd go, out of the way, I'm working. And that was how we trained. Watch me, I'll do it. Back off. And he's
I understand that 100%. I understand.
Yeah. He's worked himself out of that. Where again, people will. He's a magnetic person now, as opposed to somebody who he's going to repel.
That's awesome. Let me ask you this, because from what I understand, you guys got a pretty consistent hiring process, and there's a technician shortage obviously across every trade, but you guys are on a more or less regular basis able to hire technicians, and you've got from what I understand, a fairly low turnover rate. I think you told me before, for the most part, anybody who's left, you wanted them to leave anyway. So speak about that, because like our company, at least my branch, has an insane amount of turnover, and I'm not trying to trash anybody. It's just the amount of people I've seen leave in the 2 years I've been there is insane. And I would imagine it's got to do with things like, with culture, with training, with things like that. So what is it that allows y'all to hire when a lot of other companies, are desperate and they can't find anybody, and then to retain the people you hire? What's the secret sauce to that?
So a lot of it is, and I'll call it luck. I mentioned God earlier. I'm not necessarily a religious guy, but I think God puts people in front of you and you in front of people when the timing is right, when you are red ripe for that relationship to occur. That's the employees, friends, husbands, wives, clients, whatever it is. And when you're ready to receive them, they show up, and the right people show up. And so I look at it as us being red ripe and being the right company. We do not have internal training. We rely on Cephas's training and OJT. The A-level techs that we have, 7 of, they are so willing to meet. We've got 3 guys that are B and up and coming. One of our PM techs just got his EPA and wants to carry a bag. So he's meeting our on-call guys at night and weekends, and going with them so he can watch and see and ask. And so it is a culture of teamsmanship, of red right growth, of building walls around who we are as a protection device against outside negative forces. And that is a big portion of it. I think there's a negative affinity towards calling yourself a family. I don't see it that way. Maybe in larger companies, it's passe, or it's going to, whatever, they call themselves a family, but they don't follow through. We follow through. We act like a family. Family is first, period. Work is second. And there is virtually never a deviation from that. Today, unfortunately, we had one of our techs' grandfather in Mexico die. And the funeral was on Sunday, and he said, I need to go. And we're like, go. And if you need off next week, go. And we've got work. We are pounded. We've got work. His grandfather just died. He could care less about work. I don't want that guy on the job. He needs to be where he needs to be. Okay. So now larger companies, I don't know if they can do that. Okay. We can do it. We do it. It's part of the secret sauce of knowing, caring, and not just with your mouth, but sometimes with our pocketbook, and always with our actions. And so I have to refer to Rich Malachy for a couple of these things. We never used to pay our techs to get to their first work order. So at a 45-minute cap, we pay our techs to get to their first work order. Twice a year, we buy them up to $250 boots. They've got, phones and clothes and that warehouseman. You want to talk about taking a load off of them? Having that warehouseman made their life easier. 401ks. We bonus out a couple times a year. At the end of summer, we bonus out. Summers in Phoenix, as you might imagine, are worth bonusing out. Right. And so I don't buy loyalty, but they know that they are very well cared for here. And we know how lucky we are to have them. And I have those conversations all the time. I'm not afraid to tell a guy like you, Pat, a guy like you, Rich, or the various staff that I have, I love you. And I do. I love those people. They have spread blood and crawled around their hands and knees and on their back and on 140-degree roofs, done things that even though they signed up for it, absolutely still deserves a hug. And I love you. I can't believe you did that. Well done. And I believe the importance of that is critical. And so again, you do that shit's out in the universe. Mm-hmm. I want it out in the universe. I want them to know. And when it's time for us to buy another truck and hire our next tech, that guy's going to fall out of a tree somewhere. Mm-hmm. An A-level tech is going to be unhappy with where he is, what his situation is, what his boss said to him that day, the ass chewing that he got from a client that he shouldn't have because somebody didn't do their job before him, whatever it was. Okay, that guy's going to fall out of the sky and right into our chair where we can sit down and have a realistic conversation with him about what our expectations are, what his capabilities are, and how the hell do we marry those and go forward. And it's, for whatever reason, it's worked. And so I wish I could define it better than that, but that's what it is. That's what it is.
That's great. That's great. I mean, everyone says company culture. And I think, you guys are doing a really good job. I think a lot of times the bigger companies, it kind of gets lost in the numbers thing. There's too many people, it gets too big. And I think a lot of these bigger companies get jerked down by the guys that don't care, that want to complain, that don't want to work. And I think that really affects the bigger picture, is the rotten apples. It takes one rotten apple to destroy a whole bushel. We all know that. Right. And I think that kind of hurts some of these bigger companies. And I think you don't really, you try to weed that out before that happens and that kind of stuff. So I think that's why you guys are successful. And it's a really great approach. And I have a lot of respect for what you guys doing and what Edgar's done. I can't wait to talk to Edgar.
Thank you. It's like they humble us. I work for them. I work for them. Gary Vee says it, and I'm like, people listen to that and they go, yeah, that's bullshit. It's not. I work for them. If they're happy, I don't have to make 350 clients happy. If I make 15 people happy that I have access to every day, either face-to-face, by text, by phone, by whatever means, if they're happy, their needs are taken care of, my 350 clients are going to be just fine. They're going to be taken care of like kings and queens, and they are.
See, so you said earlier that that like saying we're a family, that become basically meaningless. And I kind of think, you know, especially after listening to what you said, talking about culture and company culture, that's probably on that same path as we're a family. You know, it's a buzzword that people throw around to try to
Right.
sound like they know what they're talking about. It sounds to me like, to sum up kind of what you said, is you and Edgar are just you and Edgar. Like, this is how y'all are. And you just pour that out into the people that you're interacting with every day. And because that's how y'all are, everything just seems to kind of fall together. So
It's true.
that's pretty cool. I like that.
It's true. Thank you. Yeah, it's true, and that only became purposeful probably again right around the time we turned the corner, coming out of COVID, where it was purposeful. You know, otherwise, listen, nobody wants to feel used. Nobody wants to feel like and it again. These are all kind of cliche things, but nobody wants to feel like a number. I probably only talk face to face with 50 clients a month max, right? But I talk with my employees pretty consistently. And I call them employees. They're team members, they're brothers, they're sisters. I'm the oldest guy, of course. I'm 60. Of course, I'm the oldest guy, right? And they're some of them. I feel like they're my children, and sometimes they need a slap on the side of the head, or a hug, or a congratulations, or just I'm humbled by how much they care for what they're doing, for the results of what they're doing. And so that's it. It is part of the culture, Rich. You're right. And like I said, it only became really purposeful between Edgar and I about 4 years ago to be less complacent with our staff, more meaningful in what we say and do, so that they understand we love them. We want to keep them. We want them taken care of. We want them as happy as they can be, given what they're doing. And knock on wood, thank God, whatever we got to do, today, that's where we are.
Nice.
Sweet. So we like to stay under an hour. I don't want to cut you off, but anything you want to tell anybody about, if they're thinking about, I work for companies, they're thinking about doing something on their own. I mean, we all know guys that can fix anything in the world. Just because you can fix something doesn't mean you can run a business.
Right.
Any advice you want to give somebody that's thinking about doing something on their own or thinking about making a change? Any advice you can give a guy out there? I mean, there's plenty of work out there for everybody, dude. I'm sick of working 60 hours a week. I know I'm a guy sick of working these hours. I mean, so be it. So, any advice for those guys?
So I feel a couple different ways, and I'll draw a couple analogies. Me, again, I know how to run a business, and I know how to run a business in this industry. There are a lot of really good techs, and like the two of you, and lucky enough, several of the techs that work for Alpha and Omega, they're incredible technicians, fantastic technicians. The skill set that it takes to have both of those roped together, be a fantastic technician and know how to run a business, know how to draw up a business plan. If you're going to start a business, you don't have a business plan, just start throwing your money out the window as you go down the road, because that's what's going to happen. You have to have a business plan. And my first one, I just went on the internet and I said, sample business plan. And by the time I was done typing it up, 30 days later, it took me 30 days to do it correctly, it was 22 pages. But it was replete. I mean, it was complete, right? And so if you want to build a business and all you have is a tool bag and ambition, but do not know how to run a business, do not know how to sell, do not know how to problem solve, do not know how to negotiate, are questionable on whether or not you want to be accountable for everything you do, hang on. Take it easy. Learn. All those things can be learned. No question about it. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying don't yet. And so that's how Edgar and I became as successful as we are. Because once we realize that's your skill set, this is my skill set. I won't bother you. You don't bother me. We'll sit down with the CPAs once a month and count our shekels and make sure that we're doing things the right way. Sit down and talk with our people often enough and make sure we're doing things the right way. And so it is a very, 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 very difficult thing to start a business. Okay. Without a business plan, I don't recommend it. It's with a business plan, 50% of businesses fail. Okay. Without one, you're going to fail because you haven't taken into consideration all the variables and inevitabilities that will occur without question will occur. I saw a little clip on Instagram the other day. It was the guy who runs UFC, Dana White. He was saying, and look it up. I'm not going to quote him because it's pretty foul. But what he says is exactly true about starting a business. Is that you have no life. If you want a ho hum trunk slammer business, you'd be just fine. If all you want to do is cover your expenses monthly, you'll be fine. If you want to build a business, understand that the commitment it's going to take for time, the first 2 or 3 years, until you can build a bank account, until you can build an account base, until you can build consistent cash flow, until you learn how to negotiate and execute everything that needs to be done in this industry, just besides turning a wrench and being really good at that. Wait, just take a deep breath. Most of the guys in this industry that want to do it are fairly young still, 20s, 30s, early 40s, whatever it is. Okay, you got all the time in the world in front of you. Take a deep breath and learn, right? Learn everything you can. Marshal your resources. Find people, and there's going to be people like me everywhere. This industry has given me so much. I want to give back as much as I possibly can. And so there's going to be people like me that have no problem giving away everything that this industry has given to me and not charging a nickel for it. I don't want to charge anything for it. I just want people to succeed, right? And so the ability to marshal your resources around you, a good CPA, a good lawyer, and some intelligent consulting, industry-wise consulting, and a business plan. Sorry, business plan's key. You can do it. You absolutely can do it.
Sweet. That's great information.
Yeah.
It's not what most people want to hear. They want to hear, I am the top tech on our crew, or one of the top three techs on our crew. I've got a tool bag and a dream. I'm going to go start a business.
Yeah.
I told you I'd love to do it, but I don't have the business side of it. Like I said, man, I'd be scared. I'd feel sorry for somebody, and feeling sorry doesn't pay my bills. I mean,
right. And no, there's no shame in that at all. The world needs great employees. I'm blessed with great employees, and not everybody has the want to do what needs to be done. And like I said, I think business ownership gets a wow, you're a business owner, you're so lucky, that's sexy. Yeah, try. Walk about 5 miles in my shoes, and I'm not. No sympathy for me. We're very lucky. I couldn't be more happy with where we are, but it's really hard. It's really hard.
Well, the internet has this saying of making people only showing their highlights. Very few people show the struggles it took to get there. Right. I mean, people only want to show them succeeding. They don't want to seem like a failure in front of anybody. And the internet really shines a light on people that have worked hard their entire life. It really shines a poor light on what it really took to get to where you're at, to where Edgar at. I mean, it took a lot of work for Rich to get where he's at, where I'm at. We've all worked hard, but I'm open. I show my failures, my successes, and there's a lot of people that do, but there's 20 times more people that don't show any failures and it's only successes. And you can't compare yourself to the people that only show their wins.
No, not at all. That's why I make it a point to show my screw ups. I forget who I was messaging with the other day online, and I'm like, I show my screw ups just so y'all aren't looking at the guy that's only showing his successes and trying to be like him, because I've got a lot of respect, obviously, from people in the industry. And then when I can come and be like, look, y'all, this is this stupid screw up that I made, and I was tired, I was in a rush, I was lazy, and just come out with it. That, I want you to know, hey, we're all gonna screw up. But like you said, the internet doesn't do that. Everybody wants to look like they got it together. I'm like, screw that crap. Y'all can see me. Like I tell people, the guy you see on social media, if you were on my couch and we were talking, it's the same guy. There's no difference in me.
Right.
Same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, Cory, we're coming up on the end. I don't want to go much longer, but I want you to tell everybody where they can find you, find your company, find Edgar. Let's everybody harass Edgar because he didn't show up tonight. But find everybody. And, if anyone has any questions or comments, how they can reach out to you. I know you're open to talking to anybody. You're a good dude. So just give everybody where they can find you, find Alpha Omega. And, if they have questions or comments or they want to, pick your brain, where can they find you at?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn as Cory Yates. You can always look up Alpha Omega Repair either on Instagram or LinkedIn. That'll come up. That'll have virtually all my information. If you want to call, I'd be more than happy to take phone calls. I would prefer that you text me first and say, "Hey, I'm going to call you. I got a couple questions for you. I heard you on the live stream and have a couple questions for you." My phone number is 602-679-0102. My email address is Cory, Cory, at alphaomegarepair.com. And Edgar's is the same, just EDGAR, Edgar at alphaomegarepair.com.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you giving your phone number and telling everybody where to find you at. I haven't talked to you as much as Rich has. Rich really looks up to you, and you guys are friends. And what you've done, in the last few years with everything you've built, I have a lot of respect for you, man. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you more in the future. So
I'd be honored. This was humbling for me. Rich, I love you like a brother, and I'm so excited for what your future holds. And both you guys and JLAT, what you're doing is incredibly admirable. What you're doing takes a lot of effort, and at the end of the day, you're exhausted, you're tired. I know what my boys look like at the end of the day, and so what you're doing, the effort that you're putting out to give back to this industry and to educate and entertain. It is entertaining. It's educational. Again, it's critical for to draw people to the industry. And so thank you very much for everything that you are doing.
Thanks. All right, everybody. Well, you know where to find Rich, Jason, myself, and now you know where to find Cory and his crew at. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and have a good night, everybody. See you guys.
Appreciate y'all.
If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.